Today is the first day of the new packet concerning right triangles. And remember that right triangles are triangles that have a 90-degree angle. And here you can see, I'm going to grab my highlighter. Here you can see the 90-degree angle being shown by the little box. It's going to be really important that we remember that. Now, in a right triangle, we oftentimes have, or all the time actually, have a special side called the hypotenuse. And the hypotenuse is opposite from the right angle. I'm going to label it. That's the side that has the C on it. And the hypotenuse is the longest side. And that makes sense because it's opposite the biggest angle. So it will be the longest side because the big angle is creating a longer side. It's important that we know which side is the hypotenuse. The Pythagorean theorem looks like this. Some of you may have seen it before. I like to review it when we get to this unit. And these little 2's are squares. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. And I'm going to label over here, you see my 90-degree angle. I'm going to label my hypotenuse because I want to point out that in the Pythagorean theorem, the hypotenuse is always by itself on one side of the equation. In this case, it's on the right side of the equation. The a and the b are just the regular sides. So a squared plus b squared, they're on the left-hand side of the equation. And it's always going to look like this. So here we have an example. We're on page 2 in our packet. We have a 3 and a 4 and a C. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label which one of these is my hypotenuse. It won't always be the hypotenuse that has the variable. Sometimes it'll be one of the sides. So we're going to need, in a minute, we're going to need the Desmos calculator. Remember, we're going to want to use X instead of C. But what we're going to do, it doesn't matter which one. You can label this A and B, or you can label it A and B. It doesn't matter which one is A and B. It just matters which one is the hypotenuse. So we'll do A squared is 4 squared. B squared is 3 squared. And C squared, when we put it into the Desmos calculator, we're going to put an X squared. And if you look down below on your packet page, you'll see that I did that. Now, in this case, let me try to move. I can't move that, sorry. In this case, you can see at the bottom, the 3 squared comes first and then the 4 squared. Whereas before I wrote it 4 squared plus 3 squared, it doesn't matter what order you add those two things because they're on the same side of the equation. So this is what I did when I put it in Desmos. Now look at this. I've got two answers. I have 5, 0 and negative 5, 0. One is 5, one is negative 5. I got two answers. Which one makes sense? Do we ever measure anything in life and get a negative answer? Your foot, when you wear shoes, you have a shoe size, that's a positive number. Your jeans, positive number, whatever size you're wearing. So we don't want the negative number. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a cross through that. We want the positive number. That's our answer. And if you go back to our picture, that's this value. And notice that the 5 is bigger than the 4 and the 3, which makes sense because the hypotenuse should be the longest side. So our answer makes good common sense. Let's turn to page 3. How about this example? Let's label our hypotenuse. Starting at the 90-degree angle, drawing an arrow opposite, I get that my hypotenuse is 10. So that's going to be my C. The 9 and the X are going to be A and B, and it doesn't matter which one. Or you could have written this. But the 10 has to be by itself on the right-hand side. So when we put that in the Desmos calculator, let's take a look. And just like last time, we have 2 answers. Remember that we want to keep the positive one, not the negative one. And you can just write all that down. That's good. If they wanted you to round to the nearest tenth, that would be 1 decimal place. And you would say x is 4.4. Why? Because this 5 is big, so it's going to make the 3 round up to a 4. If I was going to the nearest 100th or 100th place, I would go out 2 decimal points. And this would be 4.36 because the 9 is big, so it makes the 5 round up. I don't remember what Alex will want us to do, but that's how you do those.